We're going to make that British classic, the brilliant trifle. This is not any trifle. This is a trifle that belongs to and was invented by the brilliant, legendary Simon Hopkinson. I had this trifle at a dinner party and I've sworn from here on in, no jelly. So there's lots of things to do with this trifle. There are 3 different layers. It's a trifle, but that means there's 3 different jobs. First thing we need to do is make a sponge. This is a great sponge. It's very simple. It's equal quantities of butter on a paddle like that in a machine, salted butter. That goes in with the sugar. In it goes. And you need to cream those together until they become one, nice and fluffy, but not crazy. I'm actually looking for a very simple and basic sponge. You actually want to leave this sponge a tiny bit undercooked, a tiny bit, because you want that to be almost cookie dough feeling. So it's soft and it's giving and it's got that unctuousness to it when it's mixed with the sherry at the end. Beautiful. Do yourself a favour, turn the machine down, put the flour in, otherwise you'll be wearing the flour. And then once that's amalgamated, in goes the eggs, 4 eggs. And if you come to upstairs at Trinity, you will have eaten this trifle because we serve it a lot. So all the ingredients go in, no fuss, no faff, in it goes, spin it together, and you need a nice container that's lined with parchment to put that sponge into, and I happen to know that it fits in here really nicely. (180 degrees, 25 minutes, done. Let it cool down on a cooling rack, turn it straight out, cut yourself some nice pieces. We're going to dice this into cubes, but basically, don't take the crust off. I quite like the crust. It gives a different texture. That's plenty, you can keep that. It's just a really nice sponge. 111 sponge, very nice. Then, what we need to do, we take some raspberry jam and we spread the raspberry jam onto the sponge. Don't shy on the jam. Then, we're going to carefully dice these into sensible sized pieces. I've never had trifle like this before, and I don't think I ever will again. It's simply the best trifle, and you can't try and be all fancy about it. It's a trifle. And those beautiful jammy cubes in the bottom there. The next stage of this is really interesting. There is 2 things. There's purposefully frozen raspberries. We even buy raspberries and freeze them so we can put them in here. The reason we put frozen raspberries in, or the reason Simon puts frozen raspberries in, is so that you then pour the hot custard on top, and as that goes on top, it melts the raspberries and allows them to bleed into the trifle. None of those glassy cherries, no tin peaches, nothing. This is the key. Without this, it's a bit rubbish. This is really important. Manzanilla sherry, beautiful, almost got that sweetness to it. Delicious. Don't skimp on the manzanilla sherry, soaked into the sponge. Okay, now it's on to the custard. So, in with the cream and the milk into a pan, bring that up to a simmer, not a rapid boil, just a simmer. That's absolutely fine. While that's coming up, into a bowl, we put the egg yolks. So there's 6 egg yolks in there and a little bit of sugar, not too much. We give those a little whisk like you would a normal creme anglaise, as normal. Whisk those together, blend them, and it's that old case of up comes the dairy into the eggs. So we're not pouring the eggs into the boiling dairy. That's really important. Bring those together. You don't want to fluff this or create any aeration. You're just bringing it together with the sugar. In goes the cream and milk into the anglaise. Just nice and hot like that. In it goes. No vanilla, you'll note as well. So in goes the dairy into the eggs. And all of that goes back into the pan. And we switch out from a whisk to a spatula. That wants to be turned down to an absolute minimum now and cook really gently and really slowly on a very low temperature. Now, because this is really egg yolk rich, it will scramble if you overcook it. It will also not set if you don't cook it enough. So there is a bit of a technique with that. You've just got to go really slowly, be patient. I take it off the stove a little bit, on the stove a little bit. You're looking for that anglaise to coat the back of the spoon. You see at the moment it won't coat the back of a spoon. That's going to get poured at temperature straight over the raspberries, the raspberry jam and the lovely sponge. Right, you can see that anglaise is now really thickened up nicely. I'll turn that off, just coats the spoon beautifully. That's now going to go straight over. So that goes into the fridge now for 45 minutes to set up really nicely. So this is just a very simple whipped cream, a little bit of vanilla, and 5% sugar to volume of cream. Double cream, just gently pipe it in however you wish, and do not over whip the cream. That's the key here. You don't want that butter fat coming out of the cream. Pipe that on top, don't skimp on the cream. And then there's one last finishing touch that sets this off, blends with that beautiful manzanilla sherry and makes this the most amazing trifle ever. These are crystallised violets. That's sherry trifle. Thank you, Simon.